Okay, hello everybody on YouTube and Twitch. This is going to be a casual cast of a game between Grayhound and SK Gaming with Stew Balls, of course. We're going to try to figure out what happened. I would like to have caster control. Please help me out with this. Alright, go for it. Nice. Right onto the pistol round. Everybody running up a ramp. Late Molotov into jungle. Gratisfaction is pushing his way through connector, but there's a bad smoke, and Stewie capitalizes on it. Everybody else from SK seems to be going down. Great peek from Urxo. What a player that is. And that's a quick one for the boys. The Australian team, Grayhound. Don't know much about them, except for this interview, this fantastic interview that Sunna conducted with Big Dick Stacy, explaining how they were going to go thick and fast and hard at all times. And it managed to work. They beat SK in a best of 3. Stewie had a tweet that was very worrying. It was like, I can't fucking believe it. And I can't fucking... no one in the world can fucking believe it. Honestly, this is one of the craziest results. I mean, if it wasn't that SK were losing games, honestly, all the time right now, the result would be even crazier. But I just am so invested and interested in SK and why they're losing. And there's, a bone in everybody's body that they want to point to stats to figure out what the problem is. And we've seen series where Bolts wasn't doing well. He definitely fell off a lot. But this series, he pulled 90 dart like across 3 maps. It was Fallen who had like 50 or 60. Stewie was middle of the pack. It's so hard to point to the stats argument with SK right now because it seems like everybody's all over the place. This is an eco round or force up where SK have to retake B 3v3. Getting control of market is big though. Suddenly first flank is not that useful. All the spots on the site you can turn around and shoot from. You can see Malta is not even worried about the window. So all these players don't have to watch their backs. That means they can stand, here and watch. It just opens up the amount of angles that are viable versus someone flanking halls. If someone flanks halls, but they've taken kitchen control, that means that someone can shoot them from the window. They can shoot them from the middle of the site. They can just have free reign and pick from way more. And that's why it's nice to try to push a crossfire when you have the ability to. Certainly, if you give a team like SK or any good team too much space, which is a big mistake that a lot of lower tier teams will do, you'll lose more rounds than you should, like rounds where you have an advantage just because you were just holding position too long. So certainly the worst thing that Grayhound could do in this game is have too much respect for SK, and we can see that they already have the right mindset in that regard. Double push underpass, once you get spotted, you're pretty screwed. There's not a lot of options here. And going out with grenades, that's one way to do it. That boost that Fallen and Fur just did was actually a boost that when I interviewed Fallen, he talked about that he invented on Cat. I used the MLG Major and Columbus, and it won them a big round versus Liquid in the semifinals. If you guys remember that infamous match, 10 match points in a row. Pretty unreal stuff. But free round for Grayhound. This is a bus company where I don't know if they have this in America, but when the SK guys were tweeting out Grayhound in 5 hours, I'm like, isn't that a little bit far from the venue? Why aren't you in a hotel across the street? Turns out it's a team I've never heard of that ended up beating them. So, I'm still in awe. I don't understand how this happened. It's going to be 5 rifles. So nobody saved up for an AWP, which is an interesting call for SK. We don't know why that happened. Stewie, it looks like... Oh, he's taking connector control. Okay. Cold with it. Whoa, what should have been a 2K. Trade happens right away, which is what's important. I find it interesting that they decided not to save on that. I guess Fallen bought a scout on the second round, and because of that, can't buy an op now. That is there's a lot of ways you can use an op on Mirage, and that's why it perplexes me, because you can use them to pick connector, a ramp. It eases up on rotations. If you have an op in CT, your second man in A site, if he feels like there's going to be some B action, can take a few early steps over, and you don't have that luxury when you have 5 rifles. Everyone's got to stick together, buddy system up. But now it's actually back to the 2-on-2. Without bomb control, it's going to be a tough round for Grayhound to win, especially if Bolts pulls off a peek like that. Gratisfaction. It's one of those best of both worlds names, right? Satisfaction, gratitude. It's just, that's strange. Sounds like a, reminds me of a Benny Benassi song. But at least they earn this, the Force. They earn the Force. Grayhound actually didn't have all that much money after that past eco round. But we've all seen what CZ can do. We know that this is more than enough. Early mid control for SK. So versus an A hit, like a fast one, it's fine. If you have mid control, this is actually big for SK. So they get to overstack. They didn't actually push anyone to the top of it, so they don't have full information. And it depends where the smokes are going to land on the site. And I would love for Auto Director to help me out here. That deep stair smoke that teams are throwing now. And Coldzera is going to creep his way past the jungle smoke. Normally a position you can't get away with doing, and Dexter was watching the cross, but the angle wasn't deep enough. But either way, the trades look very favorable. Getting grouped up a connector like that, maybe it was a bit redundant, and I hate to kind of analyze backwards without predicting that that situation was about to unfold. But it looks like SK win anyway. Because they had... If they go and get mid control, if they send somebody to top mid to see if anybody's going to be pushing, then they at least have guaranteed knowledge. But if they go back to connector and an A hit comes out, then they're always going to be worried about a late flank mid, and so it's almost a waste of manpower to go and check mid without leaving someone there. But they might have thought that because it was either a force up or a full eco from Grayhound, that they didn't want to risk getting overzealous with their map control. And again, they win. So that's ultimately what's more important. I mean, you know, just because you win doesn't mean it's right, but could be a good argument for that. Bolt's getting very aggressive, spots the bomb. UMP 2K. But the, what is that, 100 mile per hour race car peak with the block into headshot for the trade. Grayhound, another buy up. SK have got themselves back on their feet. I think this is the part of the match where they're like, all right, it's kind of interesting that they won those rounds, but we're SK. This is map 1. We'll be fine. It's actually going to be Stewie to op, which is kind of interesting. He is a connector player, so we've seen him do this a lot of times on Cloud9. And it's also that he's going to be locking down a window. Very passive default from Grayhound. You don't typically see this. Nobody, I'm not sure if a top mid smoke was thrown down, but it seems like Stewie has line of sight, or at least can spot top boxes. Good early nade damage done. This is the stuff you don't see on the CT side, but it pays off in dividends to be able to line grenades up properly for that damage. I mean, we're going to see trades come out a lot more easily and force AKs to have to hit one bullet headshots. Otherwise, you would expect Grayhound to lose this round. Dick Stacy has gotten a very forward position in B-Apps. Very precarious spot, however, because he's exposed to Cat. Hasn't actually decided to push out. And this is a little bit messy. I think if he found a kill, they were ready to go and follow up and hit the site. But because he didn't, he took so much damage. They've decided to regroup. This is the kind of mistakes that you have to be really, really concerned about making. I mean, once you get past a certain point, like right here, and you're past all these windows, you're just in so much danger. And there it is, both with the first kill. The spam on Urka Street. And that's because he took a lot of molly damage. So SK are holding on to a reasonable amount of map control for playing his position as well as he normally does. And again, 2 people still on the B side. They had lots of information. Rotates are already here. 10 seconds up for Grayhound. The call seemed to be a little bit late. Overall, a bit indecisive. I think they would have really liked to get that opening kill in B, or I don't know. It seemed like that was all they had going for them. Straight up default into going B. You know, this is it looked a bit discombobulated, but you don't want to raid a team too early. Clearly, Grayhound come back into this, but it was overall a good round from SK. Didn't do anything special because they didn't have to, and the nades were on point. Stewie, it's a nice hop. People jump peek this because you can get shot in the foot. That's a very dangerous 3-peek. Because if someone comes to peek middle, you get shot in the foot, but you won't die. So it's really hard to move from there, but it's nice if you assume that either they're saving or it's going to be an op to come out to mid. So taking 85 damage is totally worth it. Totes my goats. Calling a quick pause. All right. What we should do on pause is we should try to figure out what the T side team is going to do. So the last round they had that messy round where they had a very passive default, barely any mid control, and then they go to test B to see if they can get a walk in, try to catch SK off guard. It's very hard to do that versus SK because they have very fluid players. Almost everybody is always moving on CT side and being somewhat aggressive, so it's super hard to walk out on SK. If I were Grayhound, I'd go start this round off with mid control and then see if we can get some connector pressure going to work on a split towards A, because they got an A hit off. So now that SK has more utility, they should maybe send 2 underpass, their smoke top mid, a guy to cross boxes, and then work on splitting A, maybe send 1 palace. But that's a very specific strategy. We'll see if that has anything to do with what they would like. I think we've got the top mid smoke to come out. Bolts is here to peek and spam. Dexter is just going to make some light pressure. Nobody on SK is actually pushed, and it's going to be a full A. So I think this is because they saw success with this in the first place. So now they just want to apply some pressure at mid to make it seem like they're not going to do something that simple, and then go back to this full-on A hit. Not a big fan of the majority A ramp because of how many nades can come down here. They have a good smoke and on the Molotov, actually. You gotta love that. Bolts hits him with a really hot trade, but they called the setup out pretty well, and our late guy mid has actually dealt with bolts too. So suddenly, favorable situation. They've got a funnel on SK. They know that the rotators are probably going to be in CT. They're really taking their time here. I think the goal here is to get them to push too much because they want information, because they're on CT side and they're down a man, and they're actually going to get that. So that's a pretty big deal. The bomb was spotted, but now that there's only 1 person left, I thought they handled that situation quite well. That was very nice. So, seemingly well prepared. It's not uncommon to have a sandwich Molotov go down, and I like that smoke in the middle of the site. It blocked vision from CT. Is Stewie gonna win this? I mean, he's got more than enough time. Problem is, the bomb is planted good for Dexter. So all Dexter has to do here is wait 4 seconds on the defuse, and that's another option. Could have been a bit riskier. I'm sure Stewie was like, can't believe that kid just wide swung like that, or something along those lines, or maybe in Portuguese or something. But that was that's one way to play it. Bomb one-on-one bomb psychology is a weird game, because if you just don't peek and you wait every single time, then the other player is going to take all that time to do something with it. So sometimes you try to catch someone running to tap the bomb in the first place, then you shoot. You can get some bullets in early. It can be a risk, but sometimes it's the right play. But you're really, in that situation, you're not playing necessarily optimally all the time. You're playing the player. So quick flash over A. coldzera dies once again with no kills. And this is pretty excellent. That's honestly looking like an SK style eco strat, where they have the smoke out on CT, 1 pop flash over, and they have people pour out palace. One of my favorite things to do, I think it's really powerful on Mirage, it's because if you send this flash over A and the flash was good, and then everyone comes out palace, you're really close to the bomb plant zone. If you deal with connector, then everybody can go here and look this way. And there's a smoke down CT, so over CT is like pretty much useless. If they want to jump up, it's a big risk. And yeah, comes down heavily to the first kill, but they had that on point. It was good spacing. I like these calls. A lot of A pressure from Grayhound. That's a quality grenade, because a lot of people go into window and they camp this out to hold for rotates. Very powerful. So it's interesting to see how the meta develops. But we're now into the 2-on-2. Never mind. All players from Grayhound go down. They handle the retake quite well. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Do you think that would be risky, though, if there was an op by the jungle area? I.e., an op to do the flash over A ramp? Yeah, it's a risk. You would do... I would personally call that strat if they thought that there was an op in CT. So if I feel like they're opping CT, I would go throw the flash. You cannot put too much stock in that flash because from A ramp, it only flashes like right here, like max. So like anywhere over here, and it's really high, so it barely blinds you. You get that after image flash, but it can blind someone holding stairs for a second. But it's mainly so that you can just get this guy out onto the site. Because you just don't want them fighting on Palace. So the flash is supposed to just assist you to get here, and then everybody needs to be able to get out. If you fight on Palace, you can take 1 second to run across and then peek. I think that's what he did actually, and then everyone else can pour out. But yeah, it's like it's something you would call specifically when you assume the setup is going to be. And there's ways that you can drag the opper. It's super easy to drag an opper to peak mid from connector. If you put any pressure at mid, the opper's going to go watch the cross, right? So he's going to be baited by the smoke and try to catch the corner of it. Another A ramp eco or force up eco. Oh, they push out. Boldero's changed up his spot. Pff, man, he's getting dicked on. Getting Stacy'd on almost every round. Doesn't seem like it's gonna matter, but they at least get the bomb plant. I mean, that can add up too. No, nothing comes of it. But yeah, like if you on an eco round, a good strat's like throw a smoke down here, and you can delay that smoke for a second, get everyone to walk halls, then you go to A ramp. And then throw that smoke down. If there's an op in connector, like let's say the op is on the box here, looking this way. Think about how easily that guy will turn his attention to top mid. And then as he turns his attention to top mid, flash goes over, everyone gets out on the site, and this guy's like, oh, fuck. You know? Now suddenly he can only watch safe angles like this. And that means that this default box plan is safe. Figuring out your opper and trying to figure out what's the best way to call around them is really important. Especially on Mirage. But there's a lot of reasons for them to be mobile, so you just want to give them a reason. Another setup where they're trying this B walkout. I don't know. They haven't committed that hard this time. No nade damage done really early. Kind of curious how SK are going to approach this. Oh wait, did SK win this match? Or did they win? I thought they won cash. Shit. They either won this one or cash. So we'll see. So here, they recognize that there's some threat at B. They've tried this before. They try to get close. They might be out of ideas. So it's important that you test these areas. Like, even if you know they're coming B, you can't call for a rotate. So you need to apply some pressure, try to get damage in, whether you know it pays off or not. And then if they hit your site, then you can call for the rotates. Teammates maybe could reposition to get ready for something like that. And we can see they're super ready. There were just too many tells for Fur. I think he wanted to stay up there. One thing Fur's really good at is knowing how aggressive he can be. But yeah, because there was so much information gathered early on, it's not really going to be a problem for SK, or is it? SK won cash. Okay, cool. So somehow Grayhound win this game. It might be some flaws on CT side. Oh my god. But yeah, they haven't had much success at B. So if I'm Grayhound, you know what I'm going to be concerned about. That is perfect. So we call it pod. So we'll try to figure out what they're thinking. This B setup is still not working. If I was them, you know, you can't keep going A, because every time you do that, you make the team stronger. So if you win like half your rounds going to a site, but you've gone to a site 4 rounds, you won 2, every single one of those 4 rounds, they're talking about how to make their A sub look better, or what to anticipate, or what flashes mean what. And that means that it's harder and harder to take the site every single time. If you know you're running over them, you win 5 rounds in a row going to a site, then they have big problems. They maybe can't figure out what to do, and then you can continue to abuse it. But in this situation, it's not guaranteed, I don't think, for them that they win this round. That's actually, it might have been a pause to talk about their economy, but well, we'll try to talk about, or try to think about what they're going to try next round. So again, if I was them, I would go back to connector. I think that they pulled off the connector split. It was kind of a 4-1 where they sent Dexter mid and killed Bolton connector. But I would consider going for another connector split, or just a stronger default towards mid. I mean, this is where the power is on your T side, is to take mid control. Maybe they want to run the beast, the B explode, to see if they can get away with it being more aggressive. And Bolts can't lock down his spot. Fur in a pretty passive position on Cat. Would have loved to have more time to be able to get into the site, but now with the bomb down, and that's another bomb plant. Grayhound have gotten a ton of those. SK are in an awkward position, but everybody's low on Grayhound. And don't get me wrong, this round could turn on their heads. Malta could kick that off as well. He's going to have a flank they're not ready for. The smoke that they threw on Cat is going to allow them to get frags, and this eco is looking extremely strong now. Op on Cat. Op die. Oh my god. 1-on-1. No, 2-on-1. Somehow the trades don't come. That was a pretty critical 1v1 to win. But with no opportunity to kill the Cat guy and him opping and staying alive, Malta seals it up. The weird part about that was if they killed the guy on site, Malta would have had to come off because it was a default plant. So, surprised he didn't just peek, but he pretty much had to run up actually. But I guess with the amount of time remaining, all he had to do was save. Now that was a big round to lose. A couple of key frags that they needed to trade. And Bolt, I think, was in a very tough spot. They threw a good flash on him. They put him in a spot where they expected him to be, and yeah, they turned this game around already. The double op adjustment is very common. Excuse me, that was gross. Very common to do on CG side on a lot of maps. You lose a round you're not supposed to, or you're losing rounds you can't figure out why, etc., etc. You can bust the op out and not have to think too much. Just a couple guys holding in some good angles. One of them's probably going to get a kill, and that's basically what you need to win the game sometimes. So here it is. A lot more connector pressure is what we wanted to see for this rifle round. They've actually got 4 at mid, which might be a bit overkill. They aren't really working on anything else. There's no Palace player to abuse. Oh, well, what could be a lurk, and Fallen seemed to have pre-aimed that angle and still miss a shot. So we don't know what that looked like from his angle, but it's probably a kill he wanted to have. However, they've actually double put, they put the 2 oppers on A, first of all, what? And then they double push Palace in A ramp, and Stewie is in a prime position. So they're taking their sweet time here, trying to get up to A. Rotates are coming out. Honestly, I think SK have a huge chance to win this round. I mean, wouldn't take a fortune teller to tell you that, but oh my god. Cold Zero just went to check to the flank and got absolutely obliterated. It's really not having a good game. I mean, he's a key player in terms of frags to get those kills. And since they're low on numbers and literally 5 players from Grayhound are still alive, there's no reason for them to not check everything. If you have less players, you skip angles, so those big flanks become more powerful. But Jesus, I thought it seemed like the 4 mid wasn't going to work. Fallen was ready for his frag. Stewie had a great flank in place. Connector dying for no trade was the only like 50-50 engagement. Losing that, then losing all of them across the board, it's pretty rough. Save the world, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate you. So again, this is the first in a series with Grayhound. Well, I don't know. It depends how good this game turns out to be. It's already kind of a banger, but we'll maybe go into the 3rd map and figure out how SK lost. Pretty sad stuff. Gotta connect those bullets. Got to connect those bullets. Falling throwing the smoke down gives them a little bit of a way to fall back if someone rushes up or something crazy like that. And also if a Molotov goes down connector, it immediately extinguishes it. It's very common play to do this. So the way mid is developed, and that's a cool way to watch that. So it looks like falling that angle is redundant, but because Fur is getting very aggressive, he can bait attention. But he's have to be very careful at mid because a top cat smoke doesn't guarantee that you can cross anymore. You know, everyone's op and connector now and throwing smokes down. Sometimes teams are throwing smokes for their teammates, and then they save an extra one, 30 seconds that they can be safe for. But usually once they control the early round, you know, late heavy take mid with lots of utility is very rare. So you play that game at the beginning and then go back to figuring out what they're trying to do. Another full A take. Back to basics. Force up for SK though. Another entry. Actually, no, Stewie to stop it. My mistake. But the UMP isn't good enough to get 2. Cold Zera. Will he finally have a successful round on A? He has been getting beasted left, right, and center. Another Molotov to push him out of position and kill him. Unfortunately, this round it was just with a CZ, but it is the last round of the half, and this is a close half. One more man remaining. 90 dart bolts. I give him 40% chance to pull this round out of the hat. Just trying to figure out how to bait this guy into peeking while also covering himself from a different position. Head spotted. That's the Stewie peek on bench. And now he comes around. It's actually his smoke that's been played around. I think he just straight up wins this. That's kind of a weird play because it's a weird play to not peek because, I mean, it's a call out. There's a high chance that he doesn't stick it, but for bolts, if he thinks that the guy's A ramp, like he killed the guy default, and if he thinks the guy's A ramp, I mean, he could have still been Palace, could have been CT. That's a weird, we can see what's going on, so it's kind of unfair for me to call it, but I'm surprised he didn't get pushed on default. Because I feel like if he flanks CT, because he was flanking from a position that bolts would have 100% not expected him to be in. Therefore, he could have came up behind him and shot him, and bolts wouldn't have accidentally cleared him. You know, if you looked at A ramp, he would have been safe. If he went to tap the bomb again, he would have been killed. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one, but a decent half for Grayhound. This craziest parts that SK I think only get another 3 rounds in this half. I think ESL's running their commercials right now, so we'll speed this up. Good half. I feel like good halves are not mandatory. I guess if the other team says good half, you should probably say good half in a match. But good halves, I feel like those are not mandatory. Also, I don't agree with talking to the other team during a match. So I wouldn't call it cocky, but that's just me. Opening pistol kill goes away for full A split. No CT control for Grayhound, and so their setup is just going to get obliterated. Mid control is really strong. If you decide to bust out, the guy that can stop you in window has a big advantage, but if he misses his first 2 bullets and you get all the way down to connector, it gets really hairy. So it's sometimes a risk on Glocks to go for mid, but once you get to that connector and window boost territory, then it's a whole different game. I say it's T-sided at that point. Just good sportsmanship. I mean, they're going to shake hands after the match. If he doesn't do that, that's bad sportsmanship. I personally don't agree with saying anything to the other team during the game whatsoever. 100% focused. Talk about your pistols. Not thinking about half, because the half is not the end of the game. And wait until it's over. Like, until the game's over, the other team is your enemy. That's how I see it. But I'm just a savage. I love going B on eco rounds. It seems scary, but I find... Wow, what a peek. Just completely called that angle out. He's like, I invented that. I invented that, bro. But I love walkout B on eco rounds. I feel like A round can be quite dangerous. People stack A more often than B. They're actually walking right back into this too. Bomb goes first and goes down. At least we've got Cold Zera. Need to do a quick poll in the chat. Would a CZ have got that frag? It's not even got a skin on his 5.7. Oh, don't seem like he needs one though. Close call. Very close. 100% yes. I mean, if the CZ is as broken as it is, I mean, you should probably use it. Some people can't get it going. James Bardoff has said he's not feeling the CZ. Just doesn't know how to use it the best. He's sticking with the 5.7. We saw some guys in ECS using it, actually. I think at Body, maybe Apex. There was another G2 player, potentially. But this is preference. They both kill. 5.7's good. Just got a lot of recoil. Full A hit. Simple stuff. Any CT smoke? Yep, they throw it down. For creating space, we can see the angles that he's skipping. It's very important. He's not wide swinging around. He picks his pathing right up by stairs and to make sure that he can come around triple, and that's his job. And all of these players, when they talk about how they're going to run their executes and their dry runs, they talk about what angles they're going to skip. You play a pug, you run out, you expect someone to be everywhere, and you clear every angle. And that's why it's a little bit more random. But in that situation, you pay attention to what the first guy is skipping. And if you guarantee you'll go back and look, somebody else behind him is watching for the trade if someone peeks out under balcony or default or the left side of triple. This round's getting played out pretty quickly. That's a good trade, though. That's a very unlikely Abdul for Grass Faction to expect to take, and he still wins it, so that's huge. He was pretty ready, and Cold Zera got an extremely forward position fast. So suddenly a round that could have been scary, that could have dismantled almost any team, has been handled quite well, and Grayhound have the man advantage. So let's talk about what SK needs to do. So we can see they're holding on to map control, and they're being very aggressive about it. I think they heard a footstep being taken, so first actually get quite aggressive. I would be worried about someone holding the... Yeah, whoa. That seemed a little bit risky to me, because if a team is on CT side is going to be going into a passive default because they don't need mid anymore. Okay, so let me talk about this for a second. So on a passive default, like if you have one here, I mean, let's say you lost your connector player, 4-3, you lost your connector player, you still have your window player. Then your window guy can come back here, be totally safe and watch this, and your CT guy can play safe in CT, because since connector is open and your cat player watching connector actively is kind of risky, then that means that it's not safe for your window guy to stand here and look at mid, right? There's also no one that can easily flash for him. So him moving back into CT is very common to do, and for him to watch window is also very common to do. And I feel like Fur might have overstepped it a little bit trying to go there, but I think he expected that this window guy was, for some reason, what was he expecting here? What I'm assuming is that he expected that there was no CT player, but they didn't kill a CT player, they killed the window guy, and they knew Grass Faction was still there. So that might have just been a little bit risky by Fur. (12-6) to SK. That's right. They are winning, but probably not this round. The one thing they had going for them was there was a man disadvantage. That was nice. That was a good retake. When someone's hands are busy in an after plant situation and planting the bomb, that's like a great time to go if you have a man advantage. Just like push out early. If they decide to get off it, it can get hairy, but you still have man advantage, which is the most important part. And if they do decide to put the bomb down, there's only one guy that can cover people. Some teams will like to put the bomb down, hope that no one pushes and gives them respect, and then they can set up in proper afterplant spots. And even though they're at a disadvantage, they at least can get to good places. But yeah. Maybe a strange play in the man disadvantage situation. A small mistake, however. And just good setup from Grayhound. So where can Grayhound be exploited? We saw them play 2 connector last rounds. They've been opping. Grav's faction is hitting shots too, which is very important. Trades have been good. On this catch up is very useful. This is powerful, having all of this line of sight down B. Smoke to actually deny that vision, which is huge. They've got 2 ops here too. This is really strange. Another situation that it's very, very strange. They've actually traded mid control for a flash A ramp. That was nice. That was a good call. Now they can kind of cool it down. They're still worried about an A hit, you can tell. Because they don't know if Bolts is just there to lead out on the executor or flash. Both the ops again are at B. But they've actually taken palace control. So who's going to win this round? With SK taking mid, 2 ops and B, it's going to be a bit random if it's going to be a B hit. Because number 1, they're not going to expect 2 ops. And number 2, for Grayhound, we don't know if they're both going to be offered up kills. Like, this is really strange. What is this about? If they go A, if one person could go and Palace peak early and then Dick Stacy could stay there, there was no way they would expect 2 people to push through Palace, and that might catch them off guard. So I'd say they have a good chance to get the opening kill in the 4-on-4. But this is a little bit redundant, right? Like, we have 2 ops here watching B apps together, and clearly I think they're uncomfortable with how they've ended up, but they're too afraid to try to move. Okay, at least he's moved off onto watching Cat. So this could be strong versus the walkout, but a lot of it's going to come down to first contact. If SK throw a good flash and they smoke their exit, they might be okay. Yeah, small teams, I'm sure they do a lot of research on grenade tells and stuff like that. Don't know if Grayhound have a coach. They do. Sorry for not crediting him. And this is where it gets ugly for Grayhound. Malta's have to pull out his sidearm. Destroyed in the B site. Control is taken. And you would expect there's no way they win this round, but suddenly Gratisfaction and Urkast are both given kills. Holy smokes. Looking like Cold Zare is not going to win the clutch either. And that's a guy, like, you can't expect somebody to win a clutch, but I swear if you look at, Cold Zare's 1v2 stats, he's probably winning 30-40% of those, especially versus teams at this level. So I don't know how that played out that way, but so a lot of the, I feel like when Astralis played against NRG, and we might watch that demo eventually, there was a big advantage for NRG, who are probably very prepared for Astralis, and Astralis are very studyable. They have a lot of structure, so there are definitely tells to be had, and NRG always do their homework, and they themselves are very studyable. They're honestly a lot like, not Astralis' level, but they're like Astralis in that way, except in NA. They don't necessarily play like them, but they have that same level of preparedness, I would say. They've got this kind of methodical, calculated style of playing. That's a really interesting opening from Malta. He might get 2. Oh, wow. Fallen just goes down 2. He was the man throwing the flash, and everybody's going to be pouring out of the window. But the hold is strong. The hold is very, very strong. And that's well done. Let's move forward. Let's skip right to it. I want to know how SK are going to decide to work the round. I honestly think they should just go back to their default, because they have an extremely strong Mirage T-side defaults. Should be good at taking mid. A-ramp push is shut down completely. For some reason, both players at A-ramp were totally blind. I don't think that SK threw those flashes, and that actually simply worked out in SK's favor by chance. I'm not on steroids. I'm all natural, bro. You used to call me Big Natural in high school. So our cast is playing a position where, you know, he'll probably, if he gets a kill A ramp, he'll push into it or jump back to Palace. Saw the shadow, tried to swing out a little bit to change the angle up, but it was good. So it works in a lot of ways for Grayhound, where they get the early kill, they get the drop on somebody else, they get information, and they get it early. So if smokes and flashes come over A, but no one comes A ramp, well, Urka is going to be like, hey, no one's coming up A ramp. You guys are good. Hard rotate to B, in fact. But in that situation, they can't pull off a fake. They have to take that fight. And Big Dick Stacy. Is that his real name? Who is Dick Stacy, man? Who is this man? I feel like he's... Who's IGLing? I feel like it's Dick Stacy. I don't know why. Well, it's certainly not Gratisfaction, so we know he's opping. Well, I guess there's still a chance, but you wouldn't think. And Dexter in a precarious spot on A. A lot of utility in this spot on default, but he could stay alive if he's in CT versus a full A. And now he has a teammate supporting him for Palace. Okay, that helps out a lot. Flash comes over A ramp. It's his adjustment. Can peek all these different types of angles. Very nice. Very well done. Turning it into a multi-frag. Multi-frag. What would you rate this lineup considering it was likely to happen? Tarek Rush to automatic circ. That's insane. That's an insane lineup. That's so insane. But I don't think it was likely to happen. I think that was just rumors. I don't think it ever actually came close to that. I don't think Cirque had any reason to leave NRG at all. NRG have all the money they've got Shaq dollars, man. They've got all the money in the world to hold on to Cirque, and there's no one on that team that would have liked to let him go. Ooh, Young Money, what a flick! That was just madness, man. It was like that 45-degree awkward, not straight down angle flick from the op. That's just so tasty. So gratifying. I'll see myself out. I mean, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be coach. I was like, go back to main control. You guys are great at mid. Main control completely dismantled. Grayhound gave them the business at mid. That's not easy to do, but it's cool that he incorporates that more short jump, because that's becoming way more standard. It's not just a fun thing to do anymore. It's actually really important, because this smoke lands here on top cat, and you can see on this side of it, because it lands on this side, so it has more coverage for people crossing to boxes over connector. It's not perfect, but more so. And so if someone jumps up here, not only are they fast to stay on cat, which is a very high frag location in general for CTs, but they have line of sight all the way up mid. Okay, the walkout A, you can always count on good mid rounding from SK, and they find a way to get the bomb down 3v2, as well as have enough time to delay long enough. Wow. Gave Fur absolutely no chance. No dog in that fight. No horse in that race. Gotta say, these are some really fantastic op shots that are getting hit from more than one player on Grayhound. It was about to happen. Did you read the article of Energy Coach? He did not decline this at all. Not declining doesn't mean that he accepted that it was true. I just don't think that it's possible. Energy probably have more money than Cloud9 in Energy 1 Circ, so I don't know how that could happen. I mean, they've got a lot of money, but I think Energy are more focused on having a good team more than anything else. There'd be no like, well, who was supposed to go to Energy in that circumstance? More money than God. This is where SK start to really contemplate their entire existence. Stewie's like, what's going on? I mean, his tweet was like, what's going on? And I don't know. I'll figure that out too. A lot of these kills are just like these fantastic shots that get hit. coldzera, generally speaking, just appears on your screen and kills you, but that's not been happening this game. A very, very weak map. Okay, SK go back to mid. They get mid control. This is a very strong position. So this is what I was saying with that I thought that Grayhound should have done when they lurked or when they came up connector was have one person in Palace. I feel like this is... Sometimes you said someone A ramp, but I think it's really strong to have someone Palace. If someone backs upstairs or something because of connector pressure, this guy can shoot him in the back. You can also have a safer fight on CT than the A ramp guy. Default gets destroyed from Palace Peak, that high-low advantage. And that can all be activated on one frag. So like Dexter, you know, he's here looking at this. I mean, he's specifically looking at high ground. Anyone peeking out of this has a distinct advantage versus him. And with Grayhound out at A ramp, there's... Yeah, oh, he saw him. Oh, he didn't see him somehow. I think maybe he did and he called it. We'll see. Looks like they're applying the pressure, yeah. Oh my god, a kill that was not supposed to happen. That wasn't supposed to happen, guys. The round is over. Holy shit. There's no way. They had him dead to right. Spolt spotted him. They both swung. coldzera had, you know, a second and a half to shoot him down. A guy swings out in front of him. Jesus. And Bolt's got the opening kill on A2. That's 2 dead in the sight. That's a round in spades that you're supposed to win. And SK basically called it right here. They should have saved this round. Probably so tilted. Look, they could have saved this round. Grayhound have lots of money. They've got that energy money right now. That means that SK are putting it on the line to win a round that won't even cause Grayhound to save when they could have saved, had AKs and an op. So, interesting economic decision making. Fast push out 8. Everybody holding down their spots. Dexter has found safety at default. And there's just no chance now. Seems like they might have just checked out early in that situation. I feel like that was a tilt buy. My god. And that's it. They clock out early. I think they will muster up one. Also didn't watch. I think SK lost Tyloo, right? Didn't watch that. This game is definitely hashtag yeah the boys. They're playing well. They're playing well, man. They're hitting a lot of great op kills. The trades are there. I think some of their setups seem could potentially use work, but overall, you know, some of the important stuff they're not afraid to do. They're not afraid to not respect SK when they need to. SK on the other hand are just, I feel like, lacking in terms of frags. coldzera having a very poor game, giving up kills on these retakes, some just standard stuff. How many more events for SK lineup to crumble? I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? A hit at the very least. You don't see someone typically jump up on that CT box. And holy smokes, they got right in the middle of this. I don't think SK expected them to do that. You never see people jump through a stair smoke unless it's an execute server, or that was like, you know, it's like 2014 that people would do that. Jumping up on the CT box as well, people don't really do that anymore. That is just so risky. He doesn't win this, does he? Oh my god, come on, dude. What the fuck? Oh my fucking god, are you serious? Did that really just happen? Whoa. That's the first clutch Cold Zero's won all game. Damn, bro. I didn't know it was like that. All right. Well, at least we get to see SK have a full buy and somehow stave off match point. Did he really win though? I mean, the score would tell you that. Nice, dude. Peeked for the jump. He opts for the jump through the smoke. That's good. That's some next gen tactics. Ult is in a strong spot. Sometimes this gets spot. Whoa. Connector smoke. That could cause a read on their setup. But it also makes it hard still to do anything about it. That was good. I think they might have saw the smoke come over and didn't see it come from that high, so maybe wasn't expecting that. Maybe was and still got destroyed. I don't know, but they're all gonna get melted. It's nice from Grayhound to give these different looks towards mid control. They've been actually giving it up a lot versus SK. So SK are good at taking it. I think this one big kind of like flaw in their game is locking down. They probably could have had a better TF even if they just locked down their mid. Their mid hits. Another man disadvantage situation. The lurk is no good. 2v5 situation. Molotovs are traded on B, but because there's 2 left, 40 seconds up, 1 player remaining for SK. Their odds seem low. Quick maths. Yeah, they're really good. SK are normally really good with roster changes. We've seen that be the case over and over again. It's just strange, man. I thought Bolts was the problem. Bolts played well in this match. So, I don't know. You know, we look at this game and the scoreline is like, oh, it's actually kind of close. You know, they could have won. But why was it this close? You know, are Grayhound going to make playoffs? Did they make playoffs? It does help SK's case if they go farther in the tournament. They take down other teams. Do they have a chance to make playoffs? Or... But certainly confidence is a big one. FaZe defeated them. Okay. Only teams that have made playoffs so far are Renegades, Tyloo, Fnatic, and Astralis. Tyloo's the only like kind of dark horse in that situation. I'd like to see FaZe beat them barely. Oh really? Yeah, FaZe have been shaky too. Everything's going weird. We got all these teams with this strange roster situations. Things are all crazy right now, man. Everything is on fire. Magis fit like a glove, though, with the straws. He fit like a fucking glove. How much time did players get to adjust to the time zone? I don't know. I'm sure they had enough. Certainly used to all the I mean, you can't really get used. I don't know, can you get used to Jet lag. Not bad. That's it, boys. That's the GG. Grayhound defeat SK Gaming in a best of 3. Unreal scenes here in Australia. And that's it. That's the end of the casual cast. It was great talking about the game, seeing what's going on with SK. Closing notes. I feel like firepower trades that you would just normally see SK winning the majority of. They lost a lot of them. A lot of great op kills from Grayhound. Good trades, like nice flicks. They're looking thick and tight, just like Dick Stacy said. And they had some weaknesses. SK kind of did what they normally do on the T side, but somehow Grayhound were able to pull out these like 5v4, 5v3 situations constantly. A weird buying decision later on in the half. It was like 12-13 where they probably should have saved. And those chances matter. You only get, 5, 6, 7 rifle rounds and a half, if that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't call these write-offs anymore, because second tournament in, SK probably did nothing but talk about how to make sure they nail these games. This game shouldn't have been close. They should have beat Tyloo. They should be, on their way. And I really had a lot of faith in SK that they would actually get there. But now I'm like, what's the problem? I'm sure there's a lot of internal stuff that I don't know about. Maybe just a certain level of uncomfortability, but certainly feels like on an individual level there are players that aren't playing as well as they normally do. Falling into bad series, Colter had a bad series, and those are, you don't really talk about ADR at around 70. That's like passing, but at 50, that's when it starts. That's when it's like there's a certain number of rifle rounds where your 50 ADR came into play. So stuff. But anyways, no sponsors. Just check out the store.boxer.gg. We got merch on there. We did our May 1st release. We made a bandana that I designed years ago that I quit fashion because I couldn't get made a long time ago, and then moved into esports. Now came full circle and doing it again. So it's a sick one. You can wear it around your head, on your neck, on your arm, in your pockets. You can rep that Boxer gang. And then we also have the our dad hat. There's a lot of highly requested dad hats. So you want to support us, go check out the store. Cool stuff, great packaging, and just like Dick Stacy, we go thick, hard, and fast. Bye, everybody.